Yes. Okay, great. Last week I had totally different problems. Hey everybody, this is the Kickinshow, where we talk to crowdfunding campaigns from Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and the like about their projects, the dream, and how it's going and what they're doing and things like that. If you were watching last week, our guest Ryan Spindle from the Mortuary Collection actually donated to the project that we're about to talk to, which is Channel Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And Alex Fernie is the director.
Hello.
And now, so Channel Zero is it's a sitcom, but it's also a series of sketch comedy things.
Yeah, it's sort of the idea behind it is sort of in the way SCTV was all about that sort of TV station, and it was sketch, but there was also that sort of through line that ran through it.
Right.
Channel Zero would be the same sort of thing, where it's the episode has a plot, it has a sitcom structure, but then throughout that, the shows that they're making within the world are sketches that pop up.
Right. Now, so the real life part of it, the sitcom part of it, is it going to be like a plot oriented thing, or is it just more like the Mortuary Collection itself was a horror anthology, and we talked a lot about how those movies would have, like, you know, that narrator, that wraparound. Is it more like a wraparound, or is it actually like
No, it would actually have story. You know, one of the things we kind of talk about is almost like, you know, comedy Walking Dead a little bit of like, okay, you know, over in Georgia on The Walking Dead, things are like dark and sad and awful. But in this other corner of the apocalypse, you know what, they're just doing the best they can. And it becomes this sort of story about these people who basically, the place they've holed up after the apocalypse is an old TV station. They're like, well, shit, we're here. Might as well make TV as well for the 14 survivors who are still watching, and so like it wouldn't just be a runner. It would actually, like, you tell a story as it goes through and follow these characters.
Yeah. Which, by the way, like apocalypse, post-apocalypse is like my favorite genre of all time, and I'm very upset that I'm not involved in this. But I'm glad I can have you guys on for this reason. How many episodes are you planning on? I think the Kickstarter sounds like you're just trying to fund the pilot itself.
Yeah, the Kickstarter is basically for like a pilot, a full 22-minute pilot, because it's you say sketch in any context, and it's incredibly hard to get someone to help you make that. Any network or any production company, because it just like terrifies people. Like the Birthday Boys were able to do it, and Portlandia does sketch, but most places are like, oh, that just scares them so much. So we're like, okay, well, the only way to really make people, understand that this is very doable and people dig this is to just prove that we can do it. But it's also not like, it's not just about, hey, we're roommates hanging out. So it takes us money to do this properly. So we want to kind of do this pilot self-funded that then we can take around and go, hey, look, we can do this. It's funny, and it's sort of unique and interesting. So check it out, and then hopefully get to make it more and put it out somewhere where lots of people can see it.
So now, is the pilot going to exist online for people to see when it's done, or just like those who have donated get a chance to see it?
I believe it's those who are donated. The Tom Vaughn, the guy who meticulously went through all the rewards and everything, is the expert on those sorts of things.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that, it's one of the first levels of donation is you get the digital download right away.
And now, you broke my heart. It's not Bosom Buddies, apparently, based on what you just said.
I mean, hey, there might be. I'm not going to say that there won't be post-apocalyptic plot lines where two dudes have to dress like women to fit into the women's-only boarding house in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. It's probably not in the pilot, but like season 3, season 4, start looking for more storylines. Like, okay, what wigs can they find?
So now, in the pilot, how many sketches are going to be in the 22-minute episode?
In the pilot script as of now, I think we go away to like 3 or 4 sketches that pop up. And one of the neat things about the format is it's not like, okay, there's every 6 minutes there's a 3-minute sketch. You get to play around with, like, okay, there might be room for runner sketches, there might be room for blackouts, there might be room for like longer beats, because it is all these weird TV shows that people are trying to put on. So we can kind of like mess around with that and make it be like have that sort of familiar sitcom structure, but then without it just being like, okay, this is the act break, this is the act break. We get to play with that a little bit more and have these mix it up in there.
Yeah, you're not constrained, but within that, like, you have all that freedom, but if you're going to pitch, to like actual television stations, that's going to change, don't you think?
Probably, yeah. Well, I guess it depends on where it is too. You
Yeah.
know, like depending. I think this is probably not something that's going to show up on ABC.
Right. It's more like Comedy Central.
Yeah, being those sorts of places. You still
Sci-Fi.
have that structure, but a lot of them, networks are kind of looking to do different stuff. Even just Adult Swim making a huge, name for themselves, just doing 15-minute
Right.
series. Like there's room to sort of mess with that, basically because most people have gotten smart. Like we know the rhythms of it, and there's something satisfying about that, but also when you can play with that without throwing it away, I think that's super satisfying.
Right.
So it's not just like, yeah, we don't care about that, we're gonna have, there's no story whatsoever.
Right.
You still have that, but then something new to it in the form of this sketch, in the form of this weird world. I think that's exciting.
Yeah. What are you more interested in, the sketches or the storyline?
I think when Kevin Peterson, who created it and who wrote it, like first sort of told me the idea, like I think the most interesting thing is sort of the connecting the two. So these sketches they don't exist in a vacuum. It's not like we cut away from the show. It's still the same people we are living with doing these things. And I think that's something that almost like I haven't really seen done that much of, like, okay, you get a legitimate sketch, but then also it's going to factor into their story. They're coming out of it, so like you have to play with that plot. It's sort of if you saw more of the show within the show on 30 Rock, I think that would sort of factor in. When you did see that, you see how Tracy Morgan's affecting it. I think playing with that stuff in this world would be really, really fun. But I worked for Funny or Die for a long time, and so I kind of came up to sketch, and I think doing sketch all under the umbrella of this is in a post-apocalyptic world is pretty exciting too, because it's sort of very different than what you would just do day to day.
So yeah, we should actually look at everyone who's involved. You guys have an amazing group involved in this. I'm going to pull up the page really quick.
Yeah.
This is the Channel Zero, which, by the way, you guys are at 19,000 already.
Yeah, it's doing well.
Which out of 25,000, which is great. You have 12 days to go. And then we'll just scroll down a little bit at okay. There's you.
There's me.
There's Kevin Peterson and Tom Vaughn, Becky Scott and Zach Eubank.
Who are, they're helping us produce it, and they're helping with a lot of the visual stuff. And Zach shot the sort of Kickstarter videos that we've put up.
Oh, nice.
And did a great job editing. Really, really talented.
Awesome. All right, and now cast-wise, it's way farther down.
Somewhere. There they are.
There it is. No, these. It's funny because I was scrolling through and I was like, oh hey, I know all these people.
Yeah.
It's basically you just shook UCB and we're like, give me people, but they've done a lot of amazing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like yourself, you were saying you've done Funny or Die for a while, and Children's Hospital you worked on.
Yeah, just shot some Children's Hospital, and
yeah.
All these guys as our actors. Mike Still is the artistic director of UCB right now, and he just pops up and stuff all the time. Eugene Cordero is one of the funniest guys I've ever met, and he's on like House of Lies, and he's on like Kings of Summer, which is really fun. And like Betsy Sidaro, Dave Tooney.
Betsy Sidaro, but it's like probably one of the funniest women coming up in comedy right now.
She's she'll be so famous so soon.
Yeah.
Because she's just one of those people that you can write like a patently unfunny thing and hand it to her, and then it makes you look like a genius.
Right.
She's just so funny and so just like great. And really the whole cast is. Tooney's the same way. Dave Tooney, who just has, Ronnie Adrian, Tony Charlene, they're all able to just kind of like elevate anything. And it's one of the great things of having pretty much everyone involved come out of Upright Citizens Brigade is you just have this huge, reservoir of amazingly funny comedic talent that we get to pull from and that we get to work with, and like that's really exciting to me too.
Yeah, totally. Well, I wanted to go back to the post-apocalyptic nature of it, because it is my favorite thing ever. What is your favorite apocalypse?
My favorite apocalypse?
Yeah.
That I just like the phrasing of that question. I got completely lost in the question. What is your favorite apocalypse? That delights me to no end. I think I'm a big fan of the Mad Max.
Oh yeah.
So like all three. Like I know that's a very surface level thing, but I just think they're so like the first one where there's just like, yeah, who needs people to talk for any period of time? Or just like showing like, oh yeah, like I'm a big fan of that, and I was a big fan of the I've enjoyed comic books quite a bit, and I was a big fan of especially sort of like the first half of the run of Why the Last Man.
Oh yeah.
Just in the way like anything that like Why the Last Man does a good job of being like just sort of sometimes it's super exciting, sometimes it's just like how would you do that minor thing that's so normal now?
Right.
And I'm nuts for that stuff of
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
because that's what I think about like okay the meteor hits or the disease strikes or whatever, then like it would literally be like how would I find fruit? Like what if I wanted an apple? What would I do?
Really miss kiwis.
Yeah, like really
Yeah.
thinking about that.
No, it's funny because it's usually whenever I'm watching, my point of disbelief isn't like, oh, zombies wouldn't,
Yeah.
they would affect everything, or everything would die, or rigor mortis. I don't care about any of that. It's like, gas lines wouldn't hold gas that long.
Yeah,
Plant would explode.
I have such an issue with that happens, and so many of them were like, okay, we pull into an old gas station that's been like, shuttered
Yeah.
for 60 years, and you're just pumping gas. It's like,
Right.
no way. I'm also a huge fan, especially comedic. I'm a big Edgar Wright fan,
Oh,
and
sure.
it's not post-apocalyptic. It's sort of the apocalypse happening, but in Shaun of the Dead, which I think is a great sort of touchstone for this sort of thing of like, I think really well, like mixing very well. Though, like, okay, there's the zombie stuff happening. But then there's also, if you remove the zombie stuff, you still have a functional story. You have a functional
Right.
movie. It's basically a romantic comedy, and like that's something that I think is sort of the way to do it. Of being like, okay, it's this story happening in this world, rather than it being like having one just sort of completely subsume the other.
Right. Now, the apocalypse in Channel Zero, it's a nuclear apocalypse. Is that accurate?
It's
Are we
it's
not
very
sure?
vague. We're not sure.
Okay.
It seems to be a kitchen sink apocalypse.
It's
So like
everything?
Yeah, like there's nuclear stuff happened. There's also mutants. Zombies are roaming around.
Giant
like
spiders? Yeah.
It's one of the fun things of the world that Kevin created is it's sort of big A apocalypse.
Right.
So if we want to just be like, also maybe the devil's around, like any of that
like,
sort of stuff,
Yeah, okay.
we can kind of play with.
This is the end kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Did you ever see back in, I think maybe it was the early 90s, Whoops Apocalypse?
Whoops Apocalypse? No,
It was
but I'm on board for the title.
It was basically a sitcom that took place in the apocalypse. I think they got 6 episodes
Yeah.
out before the networks were like, we don't know what we did. Why don't we should just end? They like everyone died. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But it was very much that sort of just, it's an apocalypse, and
Yeah.
like this episode, this is the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the keys is, and I think this is true probably of any piece of being like as specific as possible too. So, in this world, in the script Kevin wrote and everything, like the little community that they've created, their sort of like post-apocalyptic cheers, is like hyper-specific, and the characters are hyper-specific within it. And it is a comedy, but that still treats the disaster that happened seriously. It's never
Right.
sort of being like, the joke is never like, oh, the apocalypse was marshmallows fell on us. You know what I mean? Like it's still like, hey, this is awful and a lot of people died, but it happened a little while ago, and how are we gonna keep carrying on through that? You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to just being like, hey, it's all goofy silly time now.
Have you explored a marshmallow apocalypse?
I mean, I guess it's kind of where the third act of Ghostbusters was on its way towards,
Right,
maybe
yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
true.
Yeah.
I guess so. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Not, it's.
I
more-
think honestly, it seems like that wouldn't be so bad. I think drowning in marshmallows would be
Yeah.
horrific. It would be way worse than drowning in water or sand.
I mean, that's more of a plague than apocalypse.
A
at that
plague of
point.
marshmallows?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have like 5 minutes of this is amazing, and then 20 minutes of like, okay, I get it, and then you're like, oh no, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. I mean, I also would assume to get it to that liquid state, it was probably really hot marshmallow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe your
Well, see,
timeline
okay,
is seconds. And
Yeah,
not
we might be
minutes.
picturing something different because I just pictured full campfire marshmallows just like bouncing off of
Oh,
you,
okay.
and then slowly just starting to build up and build up
Oh,
and build
okay.
up.
Well,
and then
because
you
like
turn
at
in
the
that.
end of Ghost, but
Yeah, they just dump all that shaving. Yeah.
What?
I ruined it.
It's the worst interview ever, Cal. No, that's great. Now I know you're not responsible for the campaign itself, but we should let's take a look. And
Yeah.
Do you know what some of the perks are offhand?
Yeah, there's the some of the simple ones, and like the like lower tier ones are so incredibly helpful, just the way Kickstarter works. But of like, first of all, getting a download of the pilot once we've shot it, which we're hoping to shoot in the fall, assuming everyone's schedules align, and then have it done by November.
Well, do you know where you're shooting?
We don't know. It's going to be somewhere where we basically, a huge amount of what we're raising is going to have to go towards a build.
Yeah.
Because there aren't that many just
bunkers,
bunker apocalyptic, just sitting around. We shot these videos just in the basement of a downtown LA building that was one of the worst places I've ever shot it. It was like just mold. People had to wear white masks, and I mean, it looks the way it looks is what it was. And it was just a nightmare scenario. So not there, but somewhere where we can just sort of like build this up is what we want, and have a bunch of like distant green screen stuff. But somewhere around LA, and I think we might wander out into the desert a little bit to get some, since we're so close.
So you're actually doing some out of the bunker stuff.
Yeah, I think so. Just sort of like establish this world and sort of see it and get some of that footage. Just because it's, we live in LA. We're pretty close to just nothingness and salt flats, and might as well get it to really help. Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a bunch of stuff, sort of for levels of support that's actually for people sort of who want to be comedians or writers or that sort of thing. I know like there's Kevin Pearson who wrote it, and is like a great sketch guy. Right. Him sort of like giving notes on it and helping develop a packet and that sort of thing. And I'm a big improv. I come out of an improv background, and so there's a thing of me doing improv workshops or coaching sessions with people. Tom, who's a screenwriter and teaches screenwriting, going over helping you work on your script and that sort of stuff, which I think is actually fun, but also things that are like legitimately helpful to a lot of people, because I know a lot of people just kind of get stuck and being like, what do I do? What's this?
Well, no, that's a really interesting take on this, because a lot of campaigns have like a lot of like smaller things and then like some really, really big things, and they don't really know what to do in the middle, and those are really interesting perks that are very simple in a way, and then very exclusive.
Well, and I think that was sort of, I think it was kind of Tom's idea, but I think it's kind of neat too, because it is, then it's like, okay, you get to do this thing and you get to support this thing, but then it's like, well, we have these abilities that we can kind of give back to people a little bit, and so it's like, okay, great, now these might be things that you'd pay someone to help you out with anyways. Right. We're happy to do it because it's fun. Yeah. And then it's also supporting this project. So like there's a good chunk in the middle there. That's that. And then as we get further along, there's also a lot more of like, you can be an extra on it, or you can pick the name of a show that they're making in the reality of the show. And that sort of stuff.
Yeah. You actually have a lot of these. 3 of the $1,000 ones. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, people have been very supportive. It's been very exciting, because this is also the first thing I've ever done involved with on Kickstarter.
How were the first? Basically, they say like the first 24 to 48 hours is kind of the barometer of if you're going to make it, because you should get about a quarter of your fundraising in that time.
I think the way we did it was we put it up, and then the first few days before we even started tweeting about and stuff, just sort of emailing out to people we knew specifically. Mm-hmm. Have people donate that way, but it's kind of been, it was weird. I think it's a little atypical, because it was a few days, and then if you look at the graph, then it sort of started to go. I don't know if people started finding it or what that was, and then it's been like holding pretty steady this whole time, which is great. But it wasn't just sort of an instant like, well, we all called our aunts and they each gave $50.
Right. So you didn't see the Reading Rainbow effect of like $2 million in 48 hours?
Yeah, no. It wouldn't have been. It was something insane like that.
It was crazy. We were like, this is a total sidebar, but we were just sitting at work, and it was just up, and you can have like this ticker here, and this was moving. This is just insane. Every like 5 seconds, it was like boom, $500, $5,000, $40. It was like
that went so fast that I started seeing people like backlashing against it too.
Oh, any big campaign like that with a celebrity attached has both sides. Like Sean Astin did something. He's not even that big, sort of.
People get mad.
And
about
people got stupid.
And Reading Rainbow, like. Leave Reading Rainbow. Like, come on. Like, I get some of the complaints, but it's like, it's Reading Rainbow.
It's not Zach Braff.
Yeah, it's not sort of being. No one's building a pool in their backyard. Right. It's being like, well, at our core, we want to help kids read. Okay, I support.
How dare you, sir? Get out! Yeah, I don't know what that was about. It was bizarre. That's very cool. So yeah, it's usually this middle period where most campaigns just are floating, and there's just like nothing's happening, and there's like panic sets in.
And I think we've been one thing is I think Tom put together a really good campaign, and I think the sort of content we created for it, we made a normal sort of Kickstarter video talking about the goals and introducing people making it, and then we also made a video from the characters as if they were trying to make a Kickstarter video, like within this TV thing, and it was really fun, and it gave a sense of what what this might be, and
Yeah.
so I think people can kind of go like, hey, okay, yeah, I do think this might be funny. You know, like,
but I mean, even because you have 2 campaign videos.
Yeah.
You have the character one and the normal one. Even the normal one is very funny.
it was kind of. I think I think all of us are comedy-based people, and too much sincerity starts to get nervous. This is weird. This is not bad.
Yeah.
So like even doing that and talking about the project, I think it's gonna come up. Like most of me talking about it is just making fun of Kevin. Like it's just mainly just ragging on him.
Is that your normal interaction with him?
For the most part, yeah. If he posts online and he does a Facebook stats or something, I'll normally comment and insult him, and then just like move on.
So this is for a lot of people who aren't associated with UCB or know you personally. You were part of the Untitled Convoy.
That's right.
Which is, do you guys still hold the title? For
No,
Cage
Heather
Match?
Miles.
That
Yeah,
oh, that's right. Heather Miles
did like a great run.
Yeah, for a while you held the record for the longest. Cage Match is this weekly improv competition, more or less, in which 2 teams face off, and you guys held it for
we did for like a year, and then got our own show.
Like 30 weeks or something.
It was 44.
I mean, would be 40
we had like days off here and there.
Well, now, how come the rest of Convoy's not in this?
I don't know. I didn't even. I imagine if we get to make it, they'll end up showing up in it. Absolutely, because they sort of.
So otherwise, Alex Burr is just
sitting home petting his dog. But yeah, it is like we have been heavily involved in UCB, and I still am. We do Convoy every week and stuff. It is like nice to like get to all these people in it. I know pretty well from just having seen them or coached them or performed with them. And it's so fun to get to work on something that is just people that you already. But there's no like, okay, do I have to figure out if you're funny? Do I have to figure out how to make note you to get funny? Be like, no, it's just say it in a way. Great, that was great. Let's move on.
Well, okay, that's an interesting thing. It's kind of not about this, but when you were doing Funny or Die, you had to work with a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, Funny or Die is an interesting job. I was there for like 3 years, and I was hired as a writer, and then I accidentally kind of started directing. And especially when I was there, like obviously Fernie does a lot of celebrity videos, and sometimes it'd be like, oh, Nick Offerman's in this video, and anything, he's gonna be real funny. And other times it's gonna be like, okay, all right, like several New York Knicks are in this video.
Right.
How do I make this athlete who's so uncomfortable on stage and is just gonna stand there and be like, well, that's crazy. Like that's their delivery on every line, and you have to find like ways to sort of get that out of them. It's like a ridiculous learning curve because you go from like Alfred Molina to Kesha.
You worked with Alfred Molina?
Worked with Alfred Molina, and he was the best. He was like the, it was Dr. Octopus.
Is he your favorite?
He was one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite videos I ever made there.
What was the video?
It was called Children's Theater Critic, and he played a very sort of arch, pissy British children's theater critic who would go to elementary school plays and then just savage them in reviews. And so it's just this amazing actor who has so much gravitas, just being shitty to children, just really being mean to little kids.
You'll have to send me the link to that, and I'll embed it.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
post on this.
I love that video. He's just so funny, and he got it right away. And then the other people who are perfectly nice and fun to work with, but sometimes it's a little bit more being like, okay, no, I'm just kidding. Out them. Any athlete that isn't Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is funny. And then most of them are just, hey, that's not what they're paid millions of dollars to not be funny. Do that.
Yeah. Specifically, they have a non-comedy clause.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
There's no room for jokes on the basketball court.
What is your all-time favorite Funny or Die video in general? Doesn't have to be yours.
It's not mine. My all-time favorite video, I think, is a video that Scott Gardner, who is just like he's an incredibly talented dude, and he went work at Conan, did called Eye Hole Paintings. Have you ever seen that one? No. And it is just Adam. It's a commercial for Adam West selling his own brand of like creepy haunted house eye hole paintings where someone stands behind and just watches all of your stuff to make sure no one robs. That's and it's awesome. It's the dumbest idea, like in the most complimentary way.
Right.
Executed perfectly. It's so I love that video with the I'll watch that all the time.
That's really funny. The minute you said Adam West, I was into it.
It's just him like committing hard to this dumb idea. He just really sells it.
He plays Adam West?
Yeah, he's playing Adam West. Whenever just shilling these things.
Whenever he's playing Adam West, it's like the best caricature. Yeah. It's that's just awesome. So what is the everything goes well, you get all your funds. When do you plan on shooting?
Pretty soon. There's a little bit of, it'll depend because all the people in it
You have
work
to schedule it and stuff like that.
So yeah, it's going to be scheduling, but the goal is, I believe, to basically have it all done by November. So shoot at end of summer, and early September, and then just edit over that time. Which is, I think decently quick, especially because we have to.
Yeah.
I think the pre-pro on this, because it's, this isn't, even cable TV money. It's not sort of being like, I don't know, just buy it. Like, we're really gonna have to think about the best way to do this. Which is also something coming from Funny or Die, and is, we do a lot with a little. Like, that was kind of just the web's way.
Right. Okay, so for the sort of tech heads out there, the filmmakers themselves, this is an interesting project because it presents you an opportunity or a challenge of, you're filming the reality, but then you're filming the sketches. Do you film them differently?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what we'd actually shoot it on. I feel like I feel like it would probably be a red of some kind, but I'm actually not entirely sure what we'd do. But the idea would be that when you're watching the non-sketch portion of it, it just looks like a TV show. So it looks Walking Dead-ish. It looks like that sort of thing, really like cinematic and nice. And then when you go into the sketches, suddenly we're in 4:3, and it's just like whatever crappy, camera stuff they were able to scavenge after the bombs fell. So it's like them doing their best, and like it's important, like not make it perfectly bad. It's literally people doing the best they can with a limited means, which kind of opens us up to be able to do more with that.
But it's a pixel cam.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can see in the sort of the sample video we did, like it's like you see when the characters are talking to camera, it looks kind of nicer, and then you pop in and it gets grainy and it gets messed up with these like weird like cooking show sketches and stuff that they're doing. And I think that language of it is also gives us a lot of opportunity and fun to play around. We kind of get to have our cake and eat it too. We get to mess around with like, what would it be like to try to make a TV show with nothing after the apocalypse? But then also we get to go like, and this part's going to be like legitimately pretty and well blocked and well shot and well lit and all that stuff.
Is there anything within the show within the show that like you're most excited about?
I'm very excited about. There's a character that this maybe is a good tone of the pilot, that when the radioactivity hit, a puppeteer died, but his consciousness went into the puppet. So there's a puppet with a dead body always hanging off of it, who's just a living, breathing character that just exists in this world. And there's something about that amuses me immensely. Just a puppet dragging around a dead man just to talk to people. Really, that tickles me immensely.
So now you've been basically all parts. You've been, in Pound Hoy on stage. You've been the writer. You've been the director. Are you trying to find a acting way into this, or is there like? Probably
not this. Probably I've got enough. I've got enough on my plate. I think on the directing side of it. There's nothing. This sort of when I was at Funny or Die, I kind of realized it's like there's nothing less fun to me than being in something I'm also directing.
Sure.
Because I just doubt everything I'm doing because no one can tell. No one's telling me.
You don't get any notes.
Yeah. So like I'm just like, oh, am I doing bad on both sides? And B, like it's the least fun. Like in Funny or Die, I rarely showed up in videos of my own, except for like little tiny small parts, because it's always more fun to put in someone that I want. I can just sit at home and just think about myself if I want to. It's gonna be more fun to bring in someone I don't get to like work with every day to be basically any role.
Do you prefer directing to acting in general?
They're so different. I'm not sure. I don't know. They really are different. I think at this point probably Like I like. Probably the control freak in me likes that. When you're an actor, you're at other people's whims to a certain degree, but when you're a director, you get to be the person going like, I don't like what you just did, do it different, or great, do that more, and you get to sort of have more of a hand in the whole thing. And when you're an actor, it's a little bit tougher to. I feel like as a director, I always have a better idea of what this thing's going to be. Every time I'm an actor on a show or whatever, I'm like, ooh, that might be good. But as a director, I normally know coming out of it how it's going to be.
So now your cast it's like we said, they're all improv players from UCB. Is there going to be a lot of improv happening, do you think?
I think not in terms of like flat out like, the scene is nothing, go. But I think when you have people, I think that funny who are also that confident in their own voices, I think there will be a lot of like, great, this is what the scene is, and we shoot it, and then also feel free to wander a little bit.
More like ad-libbing than improv.
Yeah, sort of, that sort of like, okay, we got it that way, and now let's just let you guys go off, because there's a lot of Silicon Valley's a show that is like tightly scripted, but then they also let them, you let like Zach Woods wander and go off, and he's going to bring back something like incredible. And so I think it would be like that, tightly scripted, but we're not going to be super militaristic about no, you slightly reworded it, because I think that doesn't. I think often that kind of hurts the comedy in something like this.
Jason Horton in the chat room said, "Ask Fernie what he's wearing. Internet Hollywood wants to know."
Oh, Jason, this is a shirt?
Yeah, it's nice. It's gray.
It's a gray shirt?
It's got some buttons.
Let me. This is probably what you're confused by. See, it looks like maybe it's a short sleeve shirt. It's not. Wow. I've rolled them up.
Hollywood secrets on
yeah. Nothing in Hollywood is as it seems, by the way. Sometimes shirts look one way, but really they're another way.
Yeah, like pants.
Yep.
Yeah, and so Jason also from our improv community.
Oh yeah, I met Jason for a long time.
More toward the IO side, I think.
Yeah, I met him at IO years ago. Yeah.
So he's not allowed on the show. Is that right? Good.
No, yeah, not allowed. Banished. We keep a list.
Yeah. It's the blacklist. It's actually just a black sheet of paper with black
you can't
ink.
read it.
It's really horrible.
We'll forget. It'll be fine because we won't remember because we can't read our list, but you are on it.
Good. That's all he cares about. Is there anything else we missed that we want to touch base on?
No, I think it's I'm excited, but I know as we have some more videos that are going to be coming out. We shot some more sort of during
the campaign.
At certain percentages. I think we put out one is literally just of Kevin Pearson's adorable daughter dancing, and then one is of Mike Still, who's sort of maybe the antagonist of the show, telling people not to donate. And there will be some more of those coming out, I believe, and as people donate. And I think you get a really good sense of sort of where the comedy would be coming from in these videos, which I'm very happy about and proud of, and Tom and Kevin were smart in setting it up that way, because I do sometimes you see Kickstarters and you're like, oh, that idea sounds good, I just don't know, I can't picture it because it's all words, and I feel like that sort of stuff is conveying hey, here's the version of this that we did with literally no money, just a short version of it. We want to make the big pretty version of that.
Right. Have you donated to other Kickstarters? What kind of stuff do you tend to go for?
It tends to be. I bet if you look at my history, it's just a wide range. The most recent thing I donated to was they're building a new improv space for the clubhouse in LA, so I donated to that. And then I'll support friends and stuff. But then a lot of times it will be sort of film and TV stuff or web series stuff.
So mostly entertainment stuff?
Yeah, for the most part,
I was going to guess tech and board games. Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever donated to... Board games intimidate me.
Really?
Immensely. I enjoy them, but I feel like a tourist. Because I know so many people who are so board game centered that I feel like I'm a poser. Yeah. Just because I'm well, I've played some and I enjoy them, and then I feel oh, but did you play this game? It's German, but you have to speak Swedish to do
German.
it.
Yeah. The German ones are the best. I don't know why.
So I always feel intimidated dipping toes in that water. I just won't understand it. Makes me feel like an idiot.
I know a bunch of people. Art Tebble is any board game on Kickstarter that the game itself is $70 or more, he has donated to it. Yeah. And they're just these giant 20-pound boxes of craziness.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, you spend a lot of time with the book going, no, you can't trade gold for silver. We have to go back to 3 rounds.
We're going to have to take a look at book 3 for trading rights. Is there anything, since last week our guest basically turned us onto your project, is there a project active on Kickstarter you know of that everyone else should be checking out aside from Channel Zero?
Oh, I don't know. I think everything I've been caught up in this. Everything I was they all finished up. Right. I wish I apologize to all the worthy Kickstarter that I wasn't able to listen.
We're all now going to fail.
Yeah,
because you couldn't mention.
They're all just cancel.
Why did I even try? I'm done. All right, great.